welcome to Podro Pascal, a Pedro Pascal podcast. I am your co-host. I'm trying to get my Javi and Steve shirt in the frame, and it is making my life difficult. I'm your co-host, Rachel Leishman.
I'm your other co-host, Catrina Dennis.
And this week, despite what my shirt says, we are not talking about Narcos.
Nope.
We are going to talk about Game of Thrones, the show that I think many of us came around on the Pedro Pascal train off because of.
Yeah.
Before we start though, Catrina, how are you?
I'm good. It's been one of those weeks. I'm good. I spent some time with some lovely friends this week and got to do some nice things. So I'm all right. I even worked out today a little, got some weights and lifted them, and so yeah. Got those endorphins. How are you?
I'm good. I did close my rings today. You said workout, and I was like, did I close my rings? And I think I did. Close my rings. I'm good. I am going to see my family on Friday for my mom's birthday, who famously shares her birthday with Harrison Ford. And so I've been doing my laundry, which I'll tell the listeners of the podcast, they like us. I was doing my laundry and the stair was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And so I laid out flat on my ass in the rain on the concrete, because my building has this courtyard, and then you go down the courtyard and that's where the laundry room is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walked down there. I was I'd already brought my laundry down. I had been down there and I didn't fall. But this time I was on my phone. I was like boop doop doop doop, and then I hit the crack in the stair and laid myself out, and my back hit the stairs.
Oh my God, Rachel. You could have died.
Happy 4th of July. I busted my back on the stairs. So it's been fun.
Please stay alive. I don't want to have to get another co-host. It would be really inconvenient for me. So
yeah.
My sake, please don't fall downstairs.
Save yourself, don't fall down the stairs. So it's been a fun day. It just is sore. I'm fine. It's more my ego is bruised because I fell downstairs. And I was like, did my fat ass break that stair? Or was it broken? And then that's why I fell. What broke? Which I was I justified it in my brain as clearly the stair itself had to be somewhat rotten if it broke that easily. However, does not make me feel great if I broke the stair. So I'm hoping that the stair was broken and then I fell. And so I just realized because of my fall that the staircase was broken. It's an old wooden staircase, so it's not that big of a deal. You could fix it very easily. And I think they did today. Still though, hurt. Because I saw my life flash before my eyes as my legs went up. Out, and in true me fashion, I was is my phone safe? Because I thought my phone hit broke. It was my back I heard hit. I thought it was my phone, and I was more concerned about my phone screen.
Oh no! Oh, Rachel, please.
I'm fine. I can move and stuff. It's just sore, but it is very funny because I was did my phone break?
That tells you our priorities, honestly.
I was not my phone. I just had a whole thing about this phone. It was my back.
Get some stretches in. Try to rest for the next 24 hours before you have to go.
Get on a plane. Yes. And then hang out with a 2-year-old.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's that time of year, baby, where everything is chaotic.
Oh yes. Oh God. I have the month of July is not going to be so chaotic, but August is going to be absolute freaking chaos. So
yeah, the more I think about life, I'm annoyed.
And that's adulthood for you, kids. Just thinking about life is very annoying.
Sadly, the truth. Before we start, there's not much news. Just one little tidbit that I think Catrina wants to take the lead on.
Yeah. So the other Pedro news this week was, the Supreme Court ruling against some lady who made up the whole thing, I don't want to make websites for gay couples, blah blah blah. And she forged the existence of the person that she was trying to file the claim against. So he posted on Instagram, on his stories, a photo of the Supreme Court with queer and trans flags laid over them, which I thought was very funny. and sneaky of him. But the big news, honestly, it's something we've kind of talked about on the podcast before. Something that like I try to be really aware of because I work in social media, and that is the parasocial connections between fans and celebrities, or non-connections as they are. We see this in like every celebrity fandom, unfortunately, and it's something that like I try to keep at the forefront of my mind with this podcast. But so a fan of Pedro's went all the freaking way to Morocco,
You can say fucking
where
way.
yeah, he is currently filming Gladiator 2, and he was vibing on the beach in
I'm an
between.
idiot. Sorry, I was like, why is he? I don't.
Yeah,
I'm so checked out. I was
I mean,
like,
if it helps, I only found out he was filming Gladiator 2 because when I looked up this thing to criticize, that's what like is on Twitter right now. It's saying he's there filming Gladiator 2. So he's there in the Morocco Malta area, filming Gladiator 2. He's like, go to the beach to chill out in between like work, which is totally what I would do if I were in Morocco. And this person flew to Morocco to track him down and try to meet him. And that's a lot of effort. First off, a lot of money to like want 2 minutes with someone. Like, I hope that this person had a really good vacation, because that's something that I would simply never invest in. But then this person approached him, a stranger, on the beach while he was relaxing in between, filming is hard. Those are like 10 to 18-hour work days, and wanted time with him. And apparently that time was rejected, and he went on to do his business and stuff. And the person was very upset, very offended, said that he crushed their dreams, etc., etc. But the fact of the matter is, if I am on vacation and a stranger comes up to me, a stranger who is either attracted to or invested in me that I don't know, I will also be uncomfortable and ask them to leave me alone. Like, we as women, especially like women and non-binary folks, people who just look good, we get this stuff every day on the street. People come up to us, men come up to us and harass us. And I think that like people need to put that scope into the fact that like, Pedro is a celebrity, yes, but he's a person, and he was probably trying to freaking relax. And if some stranger who like has this investment in him that he doesn't have the energy to accommodate comes up to him, it's going to be an uncomfortable experience. We go to fan events, we go to premieres, we go to, like Paley Fest and things to see him. And that's appropriate because that's when he expects to connect with his fans. And I think that, as upsetting as it might be to encounter someone and have them kind of brush you off, you have to understand that like these are people as well. People who work really long hours to bring you the entertainment you want, and the entitlement to their time is something that I think is entirely unfair. So I think that like if I were to send out any message to the Pedro fandom, which is incredible, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for listening to our podcast and generally being super awesome people. It's also just like, you got to put yourself in his shoes sometimes. You've got to understand that like approaching your favorite celebrity when they are not in a position or equipped to like have you around them isn't always going to go the way you want it to go. Like it's going to be a negative experience, just as if someone came up to you and harassed you, you also would feel negatively about that and want them to go away. I'm sorry that this fan had a bad experience, but I sure wish they wouldn't have flown anywhere and would have just stayed in the US and waited for the next fan event he would have been at to encounter fans and like talk to them and spend some meaningful time with them. Cause like that's to feel that entitled to someone's time is, I think, unfair and perhaps even a little mean. So I hope that like that the message and the lesson that everyone kind of learns from this is like, there are a lot of opportunities to hang out and meet him and all of that, but like you gotta go for the ones that this man woke up prepared mentally to do, you know? Like it's only fair and it's the kind thing to do, you know?
I do want to note I started laughing halfway through that, but it's because I realized you said you have to realize when men and women and non-binary folk who look as good as we do, and so I just when I
Sorry.
realized that's what you said, I just I think in the middle of it.
I can't help it. I mean,
Um,
we're hot, so you know.
but I feel bad because you were saying important things, and I just started laughing. I realized
I'm
what
sorry.
you said. It was a delayed reaction of like, what did Katrina just say? And like, I laughed. Just wanted to note that for the people watching on video that I was not laughing at the situation. I was laughing because I realized what Katrina said. I mean,
Sorry.
I understand that, like, listen, I've been that person who's like, I live in a city someone lives in, I see them somewhere, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so and so. I don't know if I want to talk to them. I don't, whatever. I get that. This is a different situation because someone flew to a foreign country simply because they knew he was going to be there. And then in the same post tagged people who lived there and said they had great interactions with him. And I was like, yes, those people lived there, saw him, spoke to him as people who live in the place that he was at.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a different situation than someone showing up somewhere and saying, I demand your time. I flew here from a foreign country, as if that means anything when it is not. Like, I went to a convention and I spent hundreds of dollars, or I happened upon you in my own hometown kind of situation. Even
Mm-hmm.
then, if someone has a bad day, they have a bad day, you walk away and you go, well, they had a bad day, I guess. Like, don't get on planes unless you have a paid for ticket
Mm-hmm.
into something that is a known event.
Yes.
Otherwise, don't get on a plane. Like, and it's like it's sometimes things luck out. Look at like producer Ashley. Producer Ashley was just coming on a trip to New York, and it just so happened it was like they announced all this stuff while she was here, so we were like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I guess we're gonna do that stuff. But like, don't be getting on a plane. Who wants to go on a plane? Watch the show Lost. If you think you want to get on a plane to go anywhere,
Mm-mm.
watch Lost. Better
No.
yet, watch another Matthew Fox program. Watch We Are Marshall, a movie about the plane crash with the Marshall football team
Are
from
you
like,
trying to traumatize our listeners against
yes,
flying in planes?
yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. It's
Ah,
exactly what's happening.
yes.
We should.
Mm-hmm.
Can't think of another example of a plane crash other than Matthew Fox movies and shows. Sorry for that. I know he's
One on the Universal lot. I forgot what it was called, but it's
oh, War of the Worlds. There's a
War of
plane
the
crash
World.
in
Yeah,
War
yeah,
of
yeah.
the Worlds.
Rihanna filmed a music video there.
Tom Cruise knows about plane
Factoid.
crashes. Tom Cruise knows about plane crashes. But yeah, guys, just don't go to a country that you know someone's at.
Yeah, why waste
Take
money?
if anything, take the me and Ashley approach. Whenever we know that that man is in the city in which we live in, we're like, "What are you doing here? Leave! I don't want
Yeah.
to run into you on the streets. Get out of here."
I mean, like I've dealt with like you know I work in social media. I've dealt with especially when I was working at like Wizard World Comic Con when that was still happening. I dealt with a lot of people who were like super obsessed with certain celebrities, and I think that's when like I first encountered that entitlement because like you know David Tennant's mom died and he had to cancel his appearance. And his fans were generally gracious, but there were like one or two who were like, how dare you? I paid $300 for this. And it's like, nobody dared, man. Like, nobody wanted this to
Someone
happen.
died.
Yeah,
It's
someone
not,
died.
it's
Like,
not an affront to you.
chill out. So yeah, it's just keep it at the top of your mind that like there are always and hopefully forever, hopefully this man works until he decides to retire at a fine old age, but hopefully for the next 20 years you will have opportunities to meet him where he is supposed to be and where he expects you to be, you know, like go to fan events, go to conventions, get into premieres if you can, and that's where that I mean, it's, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, socially and culturally, that's where it's acceptable. And that's where, like, people are in the mindset to talk to you and give you that meaningful interaction. So if you want that, like, plan it out right. Don't go to Morocco. He's here. He lives in the United States. And you don't need to fly that
Listen,
far.
you can go to Morocco if you are, like me, a fan of the film Casablanca. Am I going anytime soon? No. Someday, maybe. Not anytime soon, though. But don't go to Morocco simply unless, you know what, if you are a huge Ridley Scott fan and you want to see the set of Gladiator, more power to you. But don't go just because you want to, like, follow someone around on the beach. Don't. Sorry. I'm excited for Gladiator 2, though. I love Ridley Scott. We love and respect Ridley Scott in this house.
Yeah.
But
yeah, but relax. Like, yeah, dude. You know what? That just reminds me. We've both seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, but like coming out of that movie, no offense to Antonio Banderas, but that was definitely a Pedro Pascal role. Like that role he was in, where it's just like, I just love to swim and I'm dead now. Like that's.
I'm besties with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I like swimming. Here's my boat. I'm
Yeah.
Greek.
Yep.
Maybe.
Whatever.
I did love, shout out to my people, the Sicilians. I don't know why I said Sicilians like that. I was like, Sicilians. But
Sicilians.
shout out to the Sicilians in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. But yeah, we bring this up because they are in Morocco for a good portion of that movie.
Yeah, coincidentally they are.
A lot of people are in Morocco. You know where you shouldn't be? Morocco.
Yep.
Unless you live there. Or this vacation was planned weeks and months in advance.
Yeah. Like I would even, no, I still wouldn't. Like if you were on vacation in Morocco and you decided to go harass him on the beach, I still wouldn't. let him live. Like
holds up a sign that said, "I've had this trip planned for a while. This is just a coincidence."
Just to clarify, I am not stalking you.
This is a coincidence.
I want us to, like, as a fandom too, like I just want us to kind of like integrate that into our culture, because fan culture it has its degree of unhealthiness, and the better we are about it, like from the older fans to the younger fans, the better the next generations of fans are going to be, because we establish that practice in our culture. It's like how New Yorkers like wordlessly know to move to one side of the escalator, like that's kind of, they don't do that here in California.
And we walk on the sidewalk like how you drive a car.
Exactly.
I will also note, please stop tagging his sisters and his groomer in things that you want attention on. I'm begging you. I get it. When you see people who are online a lot, you're like, oh, if I tag that person, but enough. There was no reason that Coco was tagged in that novel of an Instagram post. Just use your brain cells.
Yeah. Like I understand. Obviously, we understand what it's like to love Pedro Pascal. We made a show about it.
We actually hate him.
but at the same time, like
surprise.
Constantly put yourself in his shoes and think, would I like this if someone did this to me? And do it with all of your favorite celebrities, influencers, people you look up to. Like, there's always going to be a time and opportunity for you to connect if you really, really want to. But, be cool about it, guys. Like, this reflects on all of us too. So, like, please be chill. Please.
Be chill. Chill out.
That's all I had to say.
Sometimes you have to chill out. And like, listen, if this happens and you have a bad experience, maybe, in my opinion, don't go on Instagram.com or the Instagram app, wherever you get your Instagram, and yell at the person. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that anyone's going to be on your side.
No, it did not work out very well. And here we are now talking about it on the show. Like,
yeah,
it's a bummer. It's a bummer that this happened, but I hope that, like, it makes people think a little harder about, like, parasocial relationships and how we interact with, like, famous people and celebrities and things like that. It's not worth the energy to get yourself hurt when you're already doing something a little weird and creepy, Yeah,
and listen, there are two sides of this coin, because there's the side that is so overly protective of grown adult men that they hound perfectly fine situations. This is the opposite side of that coin, where this was not a perfectly fine situation and things got out of hand. And let this be a little red warning flag of like, don't do that.
Yes.
We get it. You want to talk to Pedro Pascal. We all do. This podcast is designed so that we one day can talk to Pedro Pascal. We understand. Maybe just don't get on planes and fly to foreign countries and then get angry when you say, I flew here for you. And someone does not accept that.
No.
In a way that is open arms.
Yeah.
You know, that's all.
Super weird. But hopefully some lessons were learned. Hopefully we can all take some I don't know, lessons out of this. Because yeah. Man, it's just an uncomfortable situation for everybody, honestly.
Speaking of uncomfortable situation, remember when Joffrey died? That's what we're talking about today.
That was weird. Yeah, that was
Podro Pascal.
I mean, it wasn't uncomfortable for me. I was kind of like, neat. I hated that kid.
I was meaning more the weird scene that happens in one of the episodes that we watched for this episode in particular.
Yeah,
because I forgot about that. I was watching these like, oh right, that happened.
Yeah, there are a lot of things about Game of Thrones that I put out of my brain. And I was reminded of some of them this week. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. So we watched episodes 3 and 4 of season 4 of, I almost said Supernatural, kill me, of Game of Thrones.
Oh boy.
Which, what a choice, because Oberyn is in one of them. One of the 2 episodes that we watched, and the scene in question is an orgy. So, because it is his bisexual orgy, to be more clear, because he's like, I just love people, and we love that for him.
Me too.
He said, "Why pick?" And yeah, King, why pick?
Exactly. You know what? I have the bi flag up here. There.
You're like,
there we go. Right here. Above the Borg cube, and I just, you know,
because Borg cube famously not virtual.
Yeah, the Pedro Pascal Borg cube. Yeah, no, I okay. So I was excited about this character from the beginning because before Pedro Pascal got famous, there was very little representation of Chilean people in popular media, and I guess it was just like super exciting for me to see a Chilean person playing like such an impactful role in the story. Like we already knew what Oberyn was going to do, what his fate was, and how he would like shift the tide of the story in that way. But seeing his introduction and also seeing these episodes and seeing him not only as a Chilean actor in a major TV show, but also an openly queer character being played by that Chilean actor was just like, I had never felt that kind of representation, and Oberyn resonated with me so strongly. Like I am a prequel Pedro Pascal fan because this is when I came in to who he was, and I looked him up, and like, you know, like most millennials, I had watched all of Buffy, but it was never highlighted like, hey, this guy that showed up in this one episode was Chilean. Because if that had been highlighted to me, let me tell you, he would have been my Buffy the Vampire Slayer glup shitto. I would have written dozens of fanfics about him.
Could you imagine if that was a label given just like any time a random ass actor appeared in something? Like, you know, like VH1 and MTV, how you used to like do fun facts on the bottom? It was like an asterisk. And it was like, so-and-so's family hails from Sicily. Pedro Pascal, who plays Eddie in this one scene, is Chilean.
Yep. And I would have taken it and run. I've always been like that. That's like, as a Star Wars fan, I've always been like that. As an anime fan, like, I can't tell you how many characters I like that have been around for one episode and then died. And then I went on to write like 20 fanfics about
No, I just think it would be funny though, like you specifically being like, if I had known that Eddie from that episode of Vampire Slayer was Chilean, I would have loved him. Like, I wish it had the asterisk information. Just in case you need to know, Catrina. This actor is from Santiago, Chile.
Pop-up video, Buffy style. Would that make him like my buff glup or my buff shitto?
Buff Shido sounds better. We should be in jail. Buff Shido. How is this a podcast that people on the internet listen to?
Oh my god. Oh, I'm dizzy.
Buff Shido.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So,
99% sure there are people who listen to this who know him, and we're like, Buff Shido.
no.
As always, this is the one he's gonna listen to. Where we yelled at people for 20 minutes and then for a full minute laughed at Buff Shido.
Oh no.
Oh, what's even worse is when Ashley is gonna inevitably cut all of this. Podcast about Game of Thrones.
Oh, my tummy hurts. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Game of Thrones orgy. Yeah.
So we watched episodes 3 and 4. He's not in 4. It's just a long episode, but it has a great Brienne scene, and I love Brienne of Tarth. So back in rage. However, the episode that he is in does include the iconic, and by iconic I mean gross, Jaime raping Cersei while their dead son's body is just like behind them. Because this is a serious show that exists. And we were like, this is art.
I was not.
I meant society as a whole, not like us specifically. I meant like society.
In trouble with 4chan because I like criticized Game of Thrones all the time for being like way too like I knew it was gonna be violent and stuff, but it's just like and there are like articles about like the onset experiences and how awful it was, but I just feel like it got even edgier in ways it really didn't need to. But I kind of knew that scene was coming, and it was definitely. There are scenes in Game of Thrones that I have fast forwarded through and just covered my eyes for. Like I think I've said on the podcast before, when Oberyn ultimately meets his fate, I've never actually seen that scene. Like I haven't opened my eyes.
That's right. You said that here.
Yeah, I always cover my eyes when I know he's about to. And yeah, just listen to the squelching sounds. That's enough for me. So yeah, it's it was pretty intense, but I thought like this was such a cool intro for Oberyn. I thought what was interesting about this episode and that particular entrance is that it's not just Oberyn who's like highlighted and introduced in that scene. It's also his paramour, whose name I have immediately forgotten, but she's played by Indira Varma, Ilaria, and that's his paramour, not his wife. I think his wife is like dead, but he also has like several children by like other women and stuff. I can't remember. Like,
listen, Dorne fucks, and I love Dorne. Yes. I am a Stark. I love Rob. Rob Stark famously was my favorite character. He died. I was like, I don't want to get into this show again. I loved Rob Stark too much. Started season 4. I was like, who's that guy? And someone famously told me, do you know what happens to Oberyn Martell? And I was like, fuck this show.
Always.
I was ahead of the curve.
Yep.
I said, fuck this show if you're going to tell me that guy dies too. But Starks and Dorne are the two coolest parts. Sorry to everyone else. I think you guys are annoying.
I mean, I
like the Targaryens and their bullshit. I think they're funny because they're so dramatic. But everyone else, I don't
like the Dornish. Like I liked what are they freaking called? The Rose people. The Rose people.
Yeah, listen. Fucking Diana Rigg in this show is my favorite character because she's just so fucking
That's what I love is that like those folks come in and they're like ultimately they all get blown away and stuff. Some very figuratively, some very otherwise, but they played the game pretty freaking expertly.
Tell Cersei it was me.
Yes.
Never been so happy in my life. I love that scene.
Amazing.
The Tyrells. Listen, Ashley.
Yeah, the Tyrells. Thank you.
Ashley's cat is named after a Game of Thrones, so she gets it. But also, producer Ashley's over here listing things. Do you know how many Tyrells or Ty people there are? Because there's Tywin and Tyrion, and I don't know, fucking Ty Simpson. I don't know. There's so many Thai names. And then if it's like, you know who I know? Arya Stark, Bran Stark, Rickon Stark, Robb Stark, Ned, Catelyn, Jon Snow, Oberyn Martell.
Yeah.
That's and Khaleesi, Daenerys Targaryen, and also, Khal Drogo. Because before he sucked, and then he got hot. And I like Matt Smith's nonsense too. This show's a lot of nonsense, but if you go into Game of Thrones with like a vibes only approach, it's kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what I ended up doing after all my favorite characters kept dying.
And that's just the way Game of Thrones goes, is like literally everyone's favorite characters die except for like one dude.
I ended up loving Davos with his fucking soup in the end. That was who I was rooting for at the end of this show. I was like, get your soup, King. Get it.
I mean, I always rooted for Arya. I was pleased when she was at the end and like, everyone was like, oh, maybe she'll get with Gendry. And she was like, nah, I'm going to just continue murdering. Murder is what I'm marrying.
Here's the thing about her. She is that Danny DeVito picture that's like, and then I just can't play. That's Arya Stark.
Yeah, like, yeah, she won't stop. She has a very long list, and the list gets longer every day. And you know what? Relatable, because that's what my to-do list does.
Can we also get a shirt that says Arya Stark is that Danny DeVito?
Danny DeVito as Arya Stark.
Yeah, these episodes are hard to talk about because like Oberyn stuff is first 2 episodes and then like the second half of this season, because this episode is like, here's an orgy where he talks about being bisexual because this blonde asshole is like, I don't like women, and he's like, look at what God created. And then he's like, and also look at what God created with men. Great. And listen, that blonde boy, some people are gay, some people are bi, some people are straight. We all exist. Don't shit on Oberyn Martell for being like, I love everybody.
Yeah.
Let him live his life.
I just thought it was like, there are very few things I enjoy about Game of Thrones, but I enjoyed the way he just kind of scoped his queerness in that sentence where it's just like, he didn't even like, what is the word I'm looking for? He didn't like talk down on that man's like gayness. I don't know how to phrase that properly. He didn't dismiss
He didn't shit on that guy. He didn't shit on that guy.
Dismiss him for the type of queer person he was. He just said like, this is how I love, like this is how I am attracted, and that's that. And it's like done in like 2 seconds. And I just love it because it's like a nice, easy summary. And it was one of like, back then, it was like one of the first prominent queer representations of men and men of color on television. And I thought that that was just like, that resonated with me so deeply, on top of feeling like so represented in that scene alone. Like I dedicated my sword to Oberyn, knowing very well that he would die. And I was still like, nope, that's it. I'm gonna stand.
I will say though, it also speaks to his character too, that like in that scene, that man is talking down to him because he like the man is like, oh, what do you mean? You can't possibly like both of them equally. And he's like, I do. I'm a bisexual man. I like them both. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And so but he does not reciprocate talking down to that man. He's like, you like men, but he's like, I think that this, I forget what he says. It starts with a D, the word he says, and then he slaps the guy's ass and says the same thing, but I can't remember what he says when he's like explaining that like how he thinks both women and men are attractive. But it's like, shows a lot about Oberyn Martell as a character, that he is like, you're talking down to me, I'm not going to return that. I'm simply going to explain to you that it's a thing. Like, it's who I am. And I love him. We had it so good for 4 episodes.
And I, honestly, I'm thankful for Game of Thrones because it did produce Pedro Pascal at Comic-Con, where someone placed a Sailor Moon wand into his hands, and it quickly became my favorite photo of him of all time. And so I can't.
Yeah, that was a great photo shoot because he also had, like, I think he had a Guinness. He was just having the time of his life. That day. He was
having a great old time. And like, that's when Game of Thrones was like at its height. It had not just like the offsite, which was and continues to be as of last year. Like, they just have really amazing offsites where it's this great combination of like behind the scenes stuff and photo ops. And I remember that one like distinctly that year because like they had the like cages that they climbed the wall in. You could pose with one of Daenerys's dragons. And then of course like the throne was there. And like that was one of those offsites that was like you saw it wrapping around the building with the line. So yeah, I mean it was a great Comic Con, and that's what I will always remember Game of Thrones for is like bringing Pedro to Comic Con.
Yeah, and it was hot. He was in Henley. I'll never forget it. It's just like it is upsetting rewatching these because I know the like mark that Oberyn had, especially on like me who like I said, my favorite character was Rob, and I very much so was like I it took me. I've told this on here before, but I'll say it again just in case someone didn't listen to the first one. They're just listening to this. Rob Stark is my favorite character. I watched The Red Wedding. Did not watch the finale of season 3. Was like, okay, I'm good. I need a break. Season 4 was like starting or had like an episode or two out. I watched the finale of season 3. I caught up on the 2 episodes I had missed. I went into school the next day in college. We had a computer room in my university, and I walked in, and everyone was talking about Game of Thrones because it was like a Monday. And I was like, oh, I like that new guy, the guy who like this is his first season. And they were like, Oberyn. And I was like, yeah, that guy, I think he's hot. And they were like, do you know what happens to Oberyn Martell? And that's when I was like, fuck this show. Like, I gave it a chance again. But I think, though, like, it is unmistakable that it was like a huge fucking deal for 7 seasons in total? Like, just everyone wanted to talk about Game of Thrones. It was great up until, even the ending, like, I feel like the ending is a lot like things like Birds of Prey, which I saw today and was pissed off because people suddenly were like, Birds of Prey is actually perfect. And I was like, yeah, where were you when that movie came out? You were being assholes about that movie when it came out. But like, I think it's one of those where in retrospect, people are like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But at the time, everyone was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. You ruined everything. And I think it's like, that's kind of what's going to happen is like that final season, people are going to be like, oh, you know what? It's pretty good for not knowing how the books end. But I think it's crazy, though, to look at Oberyn Martell as a character and kind of the staying power that Oberyn Martell had, where people like me and you and other, like, not even just fans of Pedro Pascal, like people who just like Game of Thrones were like, oh no, I like Oberyn as a character a lot. It's crazy to see, like, rewatch season 4 only and be like, huh, he's like really not in that many of these episodes for that long, but still has the like, no, I'm so good as the Red Viper that people are going to remember me.
Yeah. He actually sat down with Entertainment Weekly. I just found this article. Back in April, not super, well, I guess super long ago now, but he kind of like went over, and he was wearing the pink sweater, by the way. He went over like some of his best roles and like what he was thankful for. And this was right around the time of like Unbearable Weight
this
coming
pink
out.
sweater. Thank you, Lauren Ash, but this pink sweater.
Yeah, that one. The pink sweater, folks. The pink sweater. So yeah, he's wearing it in this like interview video, but he also like highlights his time as Oberyn and like kind of notes that like that was the role that like he blamed out he not blamed he like broke out in. The quote from Entertainment Weekly from him reads, Game of Thrones was this incredible ideal experience of really getting to play this beautifully written iconic character who has a big in and a big out in one very solid season of the series. All I can really say is I had the time of my life, and I wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for that role. And yeah, I mean, like I've definitely got to hand it to like, Game of Thrones, even though I have all sorts of problems with the show and the people who made it and all that stuff. Like that was the role that changed everything for him.
Yeah, completely. Like we've talked about it. Like I was like, I didn't know who he was. Didn't realize I had like seen him in things, but like didn't know. Wasn't like, who's that? Like it was like Game of Thrones was when I was like, who's that guy? Oh wait, I've seen Graceland. He was in Graceland. He was that guy in like kind of shit like that. But yeah, it's just it's crazy. And like I know we're gonna get into it more when we like actually get into like the end of the season, because like that quote says, he has a big in. Those first 2 episodes are iconic. When we first meet Oberyn Martell, isn't really in this, not in episode 4, and then 5 through 8, right? Isn't it only 8 episodes?
Yeah. Yeah, that seems really
That's
important.
that is when you kind of more see like why Oberyn Martell has the staying power that he does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it did change. Like so many people know who he is. I'm not
Yeah.
getting into my whole spiel again about the prequels and the sequels and the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back and listen to my spiel that Catrina teed up for me, it is like if you were watching Game of Thrones, that's kind of why you knew who he was and were like that guy. Because I remember being on Tumblr and everyone was falling in love with him. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
so many things about like that era just because I was watching the show, like, friends at school were watching it, like people were still like invested. And then I didn't watch him die until I had to rewatch the show and then I watched him die. Also, I'm glad we stopped trying to put thumbs. That was a whole time period where people were like, "I'm gonna put my thumbs in your eyes."
That was super
Yeah,
interesting. Oh boy.
that was a time in history. But yeah, I don't know. I think out of his HBO shows, I think this is the one that made him, and then I think The Last of Us is the one that people, if they didn't already know, are gonna be like, "Oh, he is that guy. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
good in everything." Which, if it took you that long, what were you fucking doing?
Honestly, come on, people.
What were you doing? You
But you're
had a
still
whole
legit.
ass
You're still
show.
legit. Like it's okay
I'm
if you're a
just
sequel era fan. You're legit, but
yes, but
you're more legit.
I'm just showing you the show that told you he was that guy by gesturing to my titties. I don't know if I've told this story on here, but when I went to New York Comic Con and Boyd Holbrook was there and I went to meet him, which was a whole shit show and I almost missed my whatever. I went to the autograph table, got my selfie, which was supposed to be like a regular photo op, but that fell apart. But it was very nice. They let me get a selfie and let me get my autograph for the same price as my photo op. So I was like, I don't care, whatever. Everyone else was there like, I love Sandman. I love the Sandman. And I rolled up in this. He was like, well, that's the first Narcos fan of the day. And I was like,
Oh.
Steve Murphy, what up? Like, I love Narcos.
Amazing.
Back onto Game of Thrones. I just think these ones are hard to talk about because he's not really in them. We did cover like that scene is really important because it is kind of the titular moment in Game of Thrones where like you see who Oberyn Martell is because like I said, he could have been so mean to that fucking guy, which he was when he was starting to insult Ilaria.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "What do you mean she's not perfect? Like you have she's an acquired taste." Like he was like not having that and then kind of realized what was going on, took it, answered the man's questions and was like and it's like you see a lot of who he is in that scene
Yeah.
while naked in a bed making out with people. But that's Oberyn Martell.
And we love him for it. It's yeah, he was a big impactful piece of queer representation that like I think resonated with so many people. And I think Pedro, you could see he was excited for the role because this character was unique. He kind of had his own rules. He wasn't playing the game really. And I love that scene. I love the scenes he shares with Cersei because he's such good friends with Lena Headey that like their chemistry just kind of like boils off the screen, and I love that.
I think it is genuinely just like weird because it's like these two episodes, like we said before, he's not in them that much, but it's still impactful. Like we're almost at an hour. Granted, we had other stuff to talk about, but like we're almost at an hour of talking about one scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like clearly, there is important things in the brief moments we do get with Oberyn Martell. But yeah, anything else before we go to everyone's favorite? Oh wait, you know what? Here's one more thing we didn't talk about.
Ah, hey, look at that. We haven't seen that in a while.
That would be Joel Miller's booty.
You know what? I'm ready for everyone's favorite segment.
Stash, 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 the stash, 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 the stash, the stash on everybody's lips is gonna be Pedro's.
Wow.
Welcome everyone to your favorite section of this podcast, Stash of the Week, where we, your hosts, pick our favorite mustache of Pedro Pascal. We both went Oberyn Martell, not this episode Oberyn Martell, but we went Oberyn Martell.
Mm-hmm.
So we will start with you, Catrina.
I just love it. It's just such a, and this scene is so great too. Like I like the one thing I actually enjoy about Game of Thrones is that you are presented with so many options for people potentially like the visage of or the image of people sitting upon a throne. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
Oberyn were to get the Iron Throne, how would he look? And he looks everyone else looks regal, but he sort of looks a little SLUTTY.
Not
I
spelling
appreciate
it
that.
out.
Oh, slutty, that's all. And I like this scene. Like he someone in this scene is clearly taking a meeting with him. And so yeah, it's
I will briefly put up what I am assuming is producer Ashley's pick, which is one of my favorite pictures of Oberyn Martell in general, because it is just chest, necklace, robe, curly hair, beautiful,
Pure
great
drip.
pick. Yeah, exactly that. I picked this picture, which is also neck robe. His hair's not curly, it is straight. But yeah, I think Oberyn Martell was just something else. I loved him. I just everything about Oberyn Martell I've been obsessed with. I remain obsessed with. I just think he is like a top tier character, which is why I think it's so funny when like people who are just now getting into like Pedro Pascal don't want to get into Game of Thrones. Like, yeah, no, but just get into Oberyn.
Just watch those episodes.
Just listen. All you need to know is some shit went down. Joffrey sucks. You're happy he died, and then just watch Oberyn Martell stuff. Also, maybe watch Diana Riggs because Diana Riggs stuff is.
I think that's also it's one of those defining roles of his like I'm gonna die in everything era because like he was dying.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, he after that he died a bunch in movies after that.
Twice with the eyes.
Twice
in the eye.
Yep. And so, I think, there's nothing wrong with going back and enjoying the prequels, folks.
Catrina, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me if you look for Catrina, that's OHCATRINA, on all of the social media sites. There are like 52 now, and I have put my name on all of them. Whether or not I actually am active there is a mystery. You just have to go find it out. How about you?
At Rachel Leishman on Twitter, at Rachel_Leishman on Instagram, and then if you search Rachel Leishman, all of my pictures are me with a lightsaber. Like, it's the same picture everywhere, so you can kind of figure out it's me. Just follow me. I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Threads, I'm on Hive, I'm on TikTok, I'm on everything because Elon Musk is killing the internet. So yeah, go follow me there. And you also can follow my work on the Mary Sue and Collider. Forgot to promote like my job. You can follow the podcast at Podro Pascal everywhere. Like, rate, review, subscribe, tweet at us, tell us what you want to see. We have cool merch from Alyssa because Alyssa rules. So get excited for the cool merch. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled on us. We're always doing things. I might go back to Cali and meet Din Djarin himself.
Ooh.
Not Pedro Pascal, the Din Djarin in Disneyland.
Ooh.
To be clear.
You're going to hold a good conversation. You're going to have fun.
Great. Can't wait. Just keep us in your thoughts and prayers. As you can see, this podcast episode went off the rails in so many ways. So keep us in your thoughts, keep us in your prayers, and until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.